Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a nitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me this week. I hope you are all doing very well. I just got better from a cold. So last week I recorded on a Monday instead of Wednesdays, and I guess that was some sort of divine inspiration because the day after I just started completely losing my voice, and yes, just a cold. It happens, but you may notice that my voice now is still a bit down, and it might go away from time to time. I will try to cut, I will definitely cut the bits of me coughing because that's just not pleasant. But yeah, so just a bit sorry if my voice is sounding like I just got back from a death metal concert, but you know, it's how it is. I'm feeling much better and I'm happy to be back this week with you. As a consequence, I feel like I haven't done as much as I wanted to last week. But yeah, I have 4 projects to share with you, and it's only going to be knitting, so yeah, that's what we're going to do. You can find timestamps to, well, there's only going to be one section this episode, but you know, timestamps are in the description down below, as well as links to everything that I talk about and my social media and patterns for sale on Ravelry. Before we start, I am wearing the Windfell sweater, which is a pattern from Jennifer Stangas, which is published in Woods, the first Making Stories book, and I knit it out of Holst Supersoft in the Nougat, red Clover and Elderberry colors. And it's an awfully bad month of June here in France. It's just, we are under storm alerts, like really nasty storms. Half of the country is inundated. It's quite nasty. I'm okay, we're on the hill. But we've been having quite a bad weather, stormy, heavy rains, and generally quite cold. So hence the sweater in the middle of June. Yeah, I don't really like summer and heat waves, so I'm not complaining too much, but I would like if it at least resembled spring. But, you know. First off, I have a finished object, which is also a pattern release. So I have published on Ravelry the Yukai socks. So this is a new pattern. It's live on Ravelry. A lot of you have already said that you liked it and made me lots of nice compliments. So thank you so much. I have already talked about them quite a lot last week because I already had one sock finished and the pattern was ready. So I'm just going to quickly show the pair to you so that you can see the symmetry thing that I got going on. There it is. So these are, I tried to make the pattern so that if you are okay with knitting socks, if you have done maybe a little bit of color work, these can easily be your first color work socks. The pattern is fairly easy, the motifs are short, so you don't have long floats. It's really easy to memorize. Proof, I did the second one while my brain was completely misfunctioning and I was at the very bottom of my cold, and I did it in one day. So you see, if I can do it while my brain is dead, well, surely everyone can. But yeah, so the pattern is also giving instructions on how to choose your size, because sizing with color work is a little bit different considering, well, you don't have much negative ease, so you can't really go with the measurements that you usually go for with normal stockinette non-stranded sock. So I give instruction on how to find out the right gauge that you need to get your size, and I give the formulas and little tips on the color work as well. So yeah, you will need 2 colors of fingering weight sock yarn, and you would need well, it's 50 grams of each will be enough, even if you are making a larger size sock and a bit of a longer leg. You might need to use the contrast color for the heel as well if you really want a long leg, but you know, you should be more than fine with 100 grams total of fingering weight yarn. And yeah, so these are the outside of the legs, and this is the little diamond inside, and when you look at the front, they're mirrored, and the same at the back of the leg. And then the motif is everywhere. So German short row, just because I wanted it to be an easy sock pattern, so German short row heels are the simplest to put into color work. You can of course put an aftersole heel or a fish lips kiss heel if you want to, but yeah, I really am happy with how they ended up being. If you follow the process of designing these, you will know that I had quite a bit of a hassle at first, but I'm really, really happy with how they look now. I think they look really cool, and I really like, you know, having like maybe a more traditional short geometric motif, but still adding a little bit of a design that's more personal on top. So I used Quince & Co. Finch, which I really like. Like I said last time, I am really impressed with. Whoa! Okay. Okay, son, just, you know, do your best to go through those dark clouds. But yeah. Wind is starting, so that's never good when we have wind. It means that the weather is going to change drastically in 2 seconds, because we are used to having really, really strong wind. Yeah. Quince & Co. Finch, I really loved working with it. I think it's really interesting because it's a really smooth yarn. It's not soft, merino soft. It's 100% American wool, and it still has a very natural feel to it. But it's worsted spun, it's tightly plied, it's a really round thread. So it's particular to work with. It's quite nice. And in the color work, the result is really interesting. It's not as grabby and toothy as this. It's not making the same type of fabric, but it's not either having these really unique stitches like when you do color work with superwash merino. So it's kind of an in-between, and I really like it. Yeah, I just wanted to say, you know, I think you can use more yarns than wool nylon for socks, and like we've started to see a lot more natural sock yarns, some that are non-superwash treated and that even don't have nylon. You can replace it with mohair or rami, or you can have yarns like Mondim by Retrosaria, which is a really strong Portuguese wool that really don't need any nylon to make very long lasting socks. And I think that making colorwork socks is an interesting part of it all, because you have a double layer, so it's necessarily stronger. You see what I mean? Even if, well, I tend to work my heels tighter naturally, especially in that case because the heel is going to be one color. But overall, you have a double layer, so yeah, you're very, if you get through colorwork socks, you're really, really harsh. So just to say that you shouldn't hesitate to expand your sock yarn options especially if you're making a colorwork pair, because they're likely to hold up better. So yes, Yukai socks. They are live on Ravelry, and there is a coupon code if you wish to use it. The code Yukai will give you 20% off. It's working until Sunday, and yeah, I will leave all the details in the description, of course. And yeah, this is it. So, like I said, I finished these socks in kind of a blur in one day last week. The pattern was already ready, and then I just really wasn't feeling great. It was kind of a note. I wasn't really bad, like it wasn't a bad flu, you know, the kind that just takes all your physical strength away. It was just my mind wasn't as active as usually, so weirdly enough, I felt like doing admin work. Yeah, you'd think that I would have just put on Netflix and knit like stockinette, because I have projects that are really plain knitting that I could have used for that, but I didn't feel like knitting at all. Not at all, but just not the projects I had. Like, I felt like knitting on my really complex projects, which was a terrible idea considering how my brain was. And I really didn't want to work on the simple projects. So I decided to do admin work. So I've spent most of last week working on pattern writing and preparing and translating, because I translated my patterns in French, which you don't care, but oh boy, was it an adventure. So in the end, I don't have much progress to show. Well, not as much as usual, I feel. Because it's how I feel I didn't do much, but at the same time, I'm going to show you a consequent advancement in my projects. I guess it's because I've only been working on 2 projects. I have a new cast on, and my alpaca poncho is definitely put aside for the moment. Although I really should take advantage of that weather to work on it. Maybe I will. But yeah, the next project I want to show you is my Joran top. So the Joran top is a pattern from Rachel Brockman, and it is published in Breeze. So the new Making Stories publication, and we are still having the knit along for it. So if you head over to the Making Stories Ravelry group, you will see threads for all the patterns published in Breeze, and you can participate in the knit along until the end of the month, and you don't have to finish anything. To be honest, I'm not sure I'm going to finish mine, but whips totally count. So don't hesitate to hop along in the thread and show your yarn and what you're doing if you are knitting any of the pattern from Breeze. I personally am co-hosting the Joran knit along, and so this is what I have so far. That is threads everywhere, but I'm just going to try to show you something that looks a bit decent. I have finished the front. It looks plain awful. So, you've already seen these textured twisted stitches panels at the bottom, and I have completed all the front body. So you knit up, then you start shaping for the armholes, for the neck, and you continue with the shoulders. I must say, it's something that I noticed on the pattern first, and that quite intrigued me, is how visible the shaping is. You know, sometimes I kind of feel like the goal in designing garments for some pattern, most patterns, is to hide the shaping, you know, make invisible decreases. And so I was quite intrigued when I saw that these were really obvious shaping bits that made distinct marks in the stockinette. And I think it's quite clever, because you're never going to get something smooth with linen. Well, smooth, yes, but just not as blended of a fabric as wool. And so I think it's quite clever to just go with it and have something that's really structured like this. So I've finished the front and I've started the back. So I've picked up the stitches and I'm knitting on the stockinette. The back is going to be long. Oh my god, all the threads. The back is going to be not much, but a bit longer than the front. So yeah, I have quite a bunch of work to do on this. And I am using Lino Muka, which is 100% linen from Woollen Berlin in the coral colorway. And it really never wants to show, I don't know why. It always show up almost neon on camera, but it's not. It's like, it's coral. It's a soft coral, and it just looks bright pink. It is not. It's much softer color than this. I don't know how. I don't know what to do. I've tried showing it in every kind of light possible, and it's always just, yeah. I really like working with linen. It is peculiar, and I wanted to touch a little bit on this because I have had some questions of people about it since I've started sharing this project. And I just wanted to say, I think it's really cool to try going for vegetal fibers. I want to venture more into cotton as well, and I think linen is absolutely perfect for warm weather knitting. And it's really interesting to work with. It makes a beautiful fabric, blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily easy, especially gauge-wise. So you see, this is 50 grams and it has 245 meter. So it's kind of a light fingering weight ratio. And you might be tempted to think that you can get it easily at a gauge of 23, 24 stitches per 10 centimeters or 4 inches, like you would for any light fingering weight yarn. Not really. It's kind of, you have to really think through if you're substituting wool and protein-based fiber and cellulose fiber in the pattern, because this, hell, if you hold it single, I don't think you can get a really nice fabric if you have less than 32 stitches per 10 centimeters. It is really, really fine, one thread of it. I mean, if you look at it. And the thing is, it's not going to move, it's not going to bloom, it's not going to take the space that wool would if you knit it at the looser gauge. The gauge for the drawn top is 27, I believe, 27 stitches per 10 centimeters. And I'm holding the yarn double for it. And you can still see that it's something that is quite airy and light and a bit see-through. It's going to get better when I wash it, but I couldn't have gone lower than this. It would have been something way too spread out. So you see the numbers are a bit different, so you do have to be careful. I want to make a couple of shirts for the summer, and the pattern initially calls for wool yarns, and I want to use linen, and I know from the start that I'm going to have to hold my linen double and maybe make some adjustments. Luckily the 2 shirts I have in mind are very loose fitted garments, so I have a bit of wiggle room there to play with tension if needed. But yeah, you cannot go one for one. If you want to make a top in which the original pattern is using wool, and say you need 700 meter and the gauge is a normal fingering weight yarn, you can't really get the same amount of linen. You have to be careful. Swatch if you can beforehand, and then make sure you get the right quantity, because you probably will have to hold the yarn double, if not triple. Now, of course, there are thicker weights of linen. This is pure linen. I have seen even thinner. I know there is thicker, something that is more of a decay worsted meterage per gram ratio. But so maybe that is an option as well. If you really want to work with pure linen for a pattern that has a gauge that's too loose, maybe try actually getting a linen that's a decay weight instead of a fingering weight. Speaking of heavier weight linen, Dererum Natura has a new yarn, a new pure French linen thread, and that's really nice. It's called Antigone, which I like because Antigone is one of my favorite mythological figures, and I really want to try it. It's a sport weight, sport decay kind of thing. I'm really curious to see how it works and how thick it is, and precisely at what gauge you could use it. I really want to get some. I might do that to knit one of the other pattern in Braise. But yeah, just to give you an example of a heavier weight pure linen thread, check out Dererum Natura's new yarn. But yeah, I am going to keep going on it. I kind of want to focus on it because yeah, I'd like to have it done on time for the end of the knit along. That's possible. I know it's not a mandatory thing, but yeah, I'm hoping that at some point we'll actually get appropriate weather. Remind me in 2 months when it's going to be 40 degrees inside the house, because we have paper walls, that I was talking about how bad the weather was in June. My next work in progress is my crazy project. So this is my circle lace shawl. This is, oh look at that, looks so nice. Oh, I'm surprised you can see it that well, yay. So if you remember last week, I said that I wanted to make 2 circle lace shawls for gifts, and I had started one. Just arranging my legs here because there was no blood in them. And this is the Green Gables shawl by Annelise Maygard. I'm probably butchering her last name, but no. And this is what I have so far. So I've done quite a bunch of progress, and it's starting to look like something. Look, you can see that it's starting to make leaves, and then you have these more concentrated ones here. Well, it looks really nice. Oh, I'm quite happy with it. It doesn't look like a spider web anymore. Not as much, a little bit, you know, when it's all scrunched up. Yeah, it's going really well. I'm surprised to say so, because if you remember, I'm not such a huge fan of lace. That is because you never really see what you're doing, usually in lace, until it's blocked, and I kind of like to see my progress, because if I need to knit a huge thing and stay focused on it, and it looks ugly, it's kind of not a good motivation. But this actually looks like what it's supposed to look. So I think I find the kind of lace that I could actually enjoy. And I am enjoying it. It's working quite smoothly as well. I didn't make any more mistakes. So I really would recommend just marking the repeats. Lifelines, obviously I'm putting my lifeline in regularly to spare my life in case I end up making a mistake. You know, there's been some more complicated stitches. It's not that it's complicated, it's just that there's For example, there's a stitch that's like make 9 in 3. And so it's just a bit tricky, and you have to keep count of what you're doing and double check afterwards. Well, I do that because I really don't want to rip out if I know it is too late that I've done a mistake. So I'd rather double check at the time that I'm doing things right. And yeah, it's quite enjoyable, and I'm going faster than I thought I would. I checked the finished stitch count. It is 1,000, a bit less than 1,200 stitches. Yep, that's going to be big. Right now I have about 400 stitches. The rows are quite slow, but like I said last time, every other row is a rest row, a knit row. So that's quite nice. Really, I really like the pattern. I highly recommend it if you're a bit insane like me and you like learning something by getting into the complicated bits. I'll talk about that later regarding double knitting when I eventually get to it. Spoilers. But yeah, if like me you prefer to learn by getting into the thing rather than taking small steps, or if you're an experienced lace knitter and you would like to make a circle shawl, I really recommend it because it is well written. It's easy to follow. So far the stitches are not that complicated. I have read through the pattern and nothing looks really weird to me. And it's really enjoyable. So yes. I am using drops lace, which I really like working with. It's for this type of thing. As soon as I don't have a gauge that's too loose. I am using 3mm needles, and I'm probably getting a 26, 27 stitches per 10 centimeters because I think the pattern calls for 24. I know 24 stitches per 10 centimeters with this, for me personally, it's too gappy, and I don't think it will look as good. So I intentionally went for a tighter gauge, knowing that I might get a smaller shawl. You know, it's going to be 140 centimeters diameter anyway. So that's enough. Yeah, and I really like the gauge I'm having. If I can find, I realized there were bits of stockinette somewhere starting to appear. Yeah, you can see here how it looks. That's good. The first project I did with drop lace, there was stockinette as well, a huge bit of stockinette, and I had worked it with 4mm needles and I got a 22, 23 stitches gauge. I wasn't happy with it. It looked too gappy, too thin. You couldn't make out the fabric. I didn't like it. So I'm really happy that this is working out like I want. And yeah, it's quite pleasant. So it's 70% alpaca, 30% silk. It's really smooth and soft, and for lace it just has a really nice sheen to it because of the silk, and at the same time you have the halo and kind of fluffiness of the alpaca. So I think it's a really good combo, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it. The color is the light grey green color, and it is nice. And yeah, I'm really enjoying working on it. Every day I dedicate my mornings to working on it because I'm a morning person, so that's where I am functioning the best. So yeah, and I kind of have a problem stopping. I kind of want to knit on this all day, even though I try to have a schedule. I like saying schedule. I should stick to it. I like to have a schedule of having the complicated things in the morning, and in the afternoon just a bit more relaxed with plain knitting. which can be color work because apparently that's plain knitting for me, but you know. And finally, I have a new cast on to share with you, and it's a test knit, but it is not a secret test knit, so I am super happy that I'm able to share the process with you, especially since I've seen that sweater a couple of months ago, I think, on Instagram and on YouTube, and I just loved it so much. I instantly knew that I wanted to make it, and when the designer said that she would be knitting test knitters for it, I decided, okay, I'm going to jump on it and I'm going to test knit it. I have never test knitted a sweater before, just because, I would like to do more, but yeah, the thing is, I have a lot of garments that I want to make, so yeah, putting one kind of abruptly in the middle of my plans, even though I have no plan, but you know how I feel. It's just I have in my mind, I want to make this sweater, next I'm going to make this, next I'm going to make this one, and so if I have a test knit that comes in and I want to participate, well, it kind of is unexpected, and yeah, you have to get the yarn, etc. But like I said, this one I knew 2 months ago, because it took the designer a little bit to get it ready, because she has a lot of other patterns on the go, and she has a kid, and it's Sari. It's Sari Nordlund, if you know who she is. But that pattern, it's been 2 months that I know I want to make it, and I've been a total stalker waiting for Sari to say that she needed test knitters, because I really wanted to jump on it. And like I've been my best creep and just jumped on her Ravelry group and applied to test knit as soon as she posted the call, because I am scary like that sometimes when I really want to knit something. So I had already looked through my stash and seen the yarn I wanted to use, so I am ready, and so it kind of is a plan, even though it's a test knit. So yeah, it is. So I might eventually start talking about the sweater. It's the Varma sweater, pullover, she says. And I'll try popping the picture that she put on Instagram of it here. There is 2 versions of the sweater. There's a 3 colors version, which is the one I fell in love with. And then she made a unicolor version, which is gorgeous as well. And I kind of want to make both. So yeah, you might see the second one day. But I am test knitting the 3 colors version, and this is what I have. So it's knit in pieces, and then everything is seamed together, the panel in the middle and the sides of the sweater. And so you start by casting on the back, and this is what I have so far. It's just a plain stockinette, back and forth in my first color. And this looks really see-through because this is Holst Supersoft again. Yay! So I decided I wanted to use it because I thought it would be it would give the best color options from what I had in my stash, and it would look really good in that texture. The original sample that Sari knitted is in Tundra, which is really cool as well. But I had some Holst, so I'm doing it with Holst. It's quite a loose gauge for Holst. It's 21 stitches, but this is the gauge episode. Wow, I'm going to, yeah, I find the title. Yeah, gauge episode. Anyway, it's quite a loose gauge for Holst Supersoft, but I knew I already got it, and I just swatched quickly to, where is my swatch? I wanted to show it. Yeah, I just swatched quickly to make sure that the fabric will look good once it's washed, and here it is. It's perfect, as you can see. So this is 21 stitches per 10 centimeters with Holst Supersoft, which is a very light fingering weight. So before blocking, after blocking, you see, this is a great yarn. So my colors are, the color that's going to be on the bottom of the sweater is Vintage Heather, which is really beautiful, really dark blue. It's heathered, like the name suggests, so it's black in some spots, and it's really, really beautiful. I really like it. Really, really like it. I'm doing like a beauty YouTuber. I'm just trying to hide because it's see-through so that you can see the color itself. Anyway, my contrast color you would have seen is Tundra. So it's this beautiful dark green. And the other color that's going to be on top of the sweater is Almond. So I don't want to hear any nonsense about blue and green, okay, because this is completely wrong. Look how beautiful this is. Blue and green totally should be seen, even alone, you know, because obviously if you add a lighter, like a neutral or another color, obviously it just makes it even better. But even alone, I think it's a really nice combination, these two together. You know, I don't know why blue and green have that rep and not yellow and orange. Because yellow and orange, that's really tough. But yeah, I just think that this looks really cool. And yeah, I can't wait to make the texture panel in the Tundra. This is Almond. Yeah, so that's where I am. The back is going to be full on stockinette. It's going quite fast. I just started it yesterday. And you start with, you provisionally cast on the sweater so that you can pick up later for the hem. And I have done, you know, Judy's Magic Cast On for the one you use for toe-up socks. I've used that to make this provisional cast on, and well, it works. So I've then put the second line of stitches on the thread. That's a bit too short, but you know, because I like to tie them just to make sure that they don't go anywhere. But yeah, and I'm knitting up. Yeah. So this is going to take me a while until it gets a bit more interesting than stockinette, but I'm really excited about this sweater and the color changes, I'm sure, because I only need to knit about 26 centimeters until I change color, so that's going to be really rhythmic. And yeah, I'm really happy that I got to test knit this sweater. Once again, my stalking methods have worked. I'm a complete stalker when I want something. When I want to make an update from a popular dyer, yes, I will be refreshing the page 5 minutes before the time, and I will get what I want. It's the same when the pattern is released and I really want it. I did it again last week with a new sweater pattern. I just managed to buy the pattern before the designer says on Instagram that it's available. Because I'm a creep and I stalk people when I want something from them. So yes, I hope Sari is not watching. Sari, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I promise. I'm a sane person. I just really wanted to test knit your sweater. So yeah, I'm really excited for it and I can't wait to show more of it. And that's it. And my voice hasn't disappeared that much, so that's good. And yeah, I will leave you now. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a very happy week and I will see you next time. Bye!